Absolute Batman issue 15, Scott Snyder writing with Jock on the art. So not the regular artist, but it's hard to complain about Jock jumping in for art. So
Yeah.
you know, there you go. And this is an issue in which Alfred is basically telling Bruce everything he knows about this mysterious man who does not laugh, aka Joker, or in this case, was it John Grimm? Was the name?
Or Jack Grimm.
Or Jack Grimm.
Yep.
Um,
JK.
Yeah, I will say I did see one of the things coming that he eventually gets to, because he's talking about his great grandfather, and then it's like, oh, Jack Grimm the second, then the third, and I was like, bitch, this is all one guy. This is one guy who's been alive for the last like 150 years. You're not fooling me.
So what got me is I was doing the math on the ages and tracing it back to the starting point, and when we got to Jack Grimm the fifth, there wasn't enough time. So I was like, wait a minute, and I was like, Snyder's not that careless, right?
What, you mean the first?
So we get to the first one, right? And we start back there, and then the Joker that we're dealing with, the man that doesn't laugh, that we've seen, you know, in the pages, it's supposed to be Jack Grimm the fifth.
Yeah,
right?
they said he was born in the 70s, which is plenty of time. So I don't know what you mean.
No, that his dad was. That was the fourth. Was born. He was the one that right? Unless I misread that.
I think the fifth was the 70s, because they said the fourth was in the whatever time period, and I went, oh, that's too far back. Surely he's too old now, if that's what we're going with. Not that the age matters now that we all know it's one guy who's been alive for ever so long.
So it says Jack Grimm the fifth, young smart. Oh yeah, okay. He was born sometime. No, it says Jack Grimm the fourth was born sometime in the late 70s, and then took the company into gaming systems. And then Jack Grimm, Jack Grimm the fifth, young, smart, and by far the most successful. So that's the thing that got me. If the fourth was supposed to be born in the late 70s.
That's still enough time, though. That is still enough time.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, if he has him at 20, then that's the 90s. He'd be 30 now.
Time, pardon the language. You have to edit that.
What are you talking about? He could be born in like 2003 and be in his 20s, which would still be fine.
Yes, I just showed my own hand on the time about time, where I was like, dude, there's no way. That guy's not that old. That's only a little bit older than me. And I go, oh, I could have a 20-year-old.
Yes, like, you could.
You know? Yeah. So, but no, once they started going through all the different Jack Grimms as well, I was like, oh no, this is the same guy. Like, there's no way that it's not. Like, we're dealing with literal Satan personified. All right, like, he's been around forever.
Which, to be fair, I don't think predicting that's that big of a deal, because there's more revealed with that. Because they did a whole thing here where he's telling the intel. He's like, here's what we know for a fact. There's not a lot of photos or whatever of this Jack Grimm guy. And he talks about how he was a clown, but he never laughed himself. He would get money outside the theater and stuff, and then he helped fund the start of the film industry. He was into silent films, and then he's, supposedly the son would be in the first talkies and funding that type of cinema, and then so on. And then once you get to the fourth or fifth, it's like, oh, he's added in video games and streaming platforms. This idea that every version of him, and it's really all the one guy, has been funding every like sort of version of entertainment, sort of tying with the idea of clowns being entertainment the entire time. But of course, the other side of that, because what the issue does is that it sort of goes back to that same like 2-page layout of like how this story started, but Alfred kind of puts in, because the running theme of this is that Batman keeps saying, stop saying what you know, what do you think, old man? And eventually he's like, well, the rumors are that yes, he was making people laugh outside the theater, but that's because he was pumping in like the early forms of laughing gas, which was making them laugh so he could rob them. And that obviously ties into the main universe stuff where Joker always makes people laugh to death. And he, is evil, blah, blah. And then he eventually gets to the idea that, oh, I believe he's been funding, like, he's had his hand in everything, right? Okay, on face value, he's been funding children's orphanages and charities and things like that. But he's also funding Nazis. He's also funding, like, both sides of every conflict so he can be in complete control. And that's kind of when we're getting to that backstory. And this is all playing out whilst we're also seeing other things from him, which is that, and Alfred also explains that he owns a bunch of little islands that are like useless because they're too distant and discreet and they're too small. You can't develop them into anything. But he owns all these little islands all over the planet, and he goes to visit them every year. And it's like, why is he doing that? And then the end of the issue kind of reveals maybe he's been looking for someone for the last however many years, or maybe he's just had him stashed here. Maybe every island's got someone on it that he's put there that he wants to eventually go and hunt and kill for his amusement, if you will.
Yeah, because the guy that's there was somebody that was looking into one of the Jack Grimms.
Yeah, someone who was getting
that was working
close.
for the FBI. Yeah, and then they just disappeared, and no one has seen him since. And Alfred, so when we meet this guy who's living there looking like Tom Hanks in Castaway, the name matches. It's Harvey, what was it? Something. Because the name starts with H-A, so he ends up saying Ha, right? And yeah, this is a man that has all the power, right? He's playing stuff against himself, so he always comes out ahead, which is, I guess, the ultimate joke, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the creepy part for me was when Alfred, because he keeps emphasizing this guy never laughs, and no version of him has laughed throughout the years, but the rumors, like the really unknown rumors that are really deep in the secrecy, is that there is one time when he will laugh. He will laugh right before he's killing you, or right as he's revealing who he really is, and it sounded like there's something really creepy about the idea of a villain who will only show emotion and laugh right at that moment, but they've completely broken you to like death or whatever. I don't know. It was a really interesting little detail that I thought was really creepy. So yeah, I don't know. I thought that was really cool. But yeah, they really build up the mystique of this guy throughout the entire issue. It's obviously this bigger backstory to the whole thing.
Like, look, we always say that we always like when the Joker is like kind of this amorphous. We don't know the full origin of him, where he comes from. Yeah. But the fact this is a different universe, right? And it's Snyder starting from scratch, and he's playing with that idea, right? That the Joker's just always been there, right? It's always the same guy, And so we don't know it's actually true. So the fact that Bruce keeps asking Alfred, like, okay, well, that's fine, but what do you believe? So it's not just what he knows, but it's almost like the power of belief is the key to all of this. And I really like that, because again, it's not what's true about the Joker, it's what you believe to be true.
Yeah, although I suspect some of this is going to end up being true. Like, so I found the bit that I was referencing there about like the only time he laughs. It's when he brings up that, there's a darker project that he's a part of that's maybe even ties into the Arkham, or all the various arcs that he has. But he says, I have records of grim investments in some of the deadliest inventions of the last 100 years, from the bomb to bioweapons, viruses, and there are records of them laughing, Bruce, the grim men, at the test, and only then. So this idea of like the only time like Joker laughs in a 20-year period is when he sees the first atom bomb go off, is like really sinister. Like that's really messed up. And I think it sells this idea that if we see him laugh at some point, it's going to feel like, oh shit, like Batman's going to be at his lowest moment and Joker thinks he's won, or he's done something terrible. Like he's building this up to feel like the end of the world when this eventually happens. Yeah.
And then again, the Jock art there on that page, where the smile on his face as he watches that atom bomb go off, it isn't like a regular smile, right? It's just this big rictus grin where it's almost overtaking his complete face, right? Where it's almost showing what the true form is right there. It's like not a human smile. So I really like that. And then just the creepiness throughout, like even the early pages where they're getting into the history of the Grimm guys, the way that the pages are laid out to where they
it's repetitious intentionally, where it uses the same layout, but there's like details changed every time we go back to it.
Yeah, like it fades into what the reality is, and there's like all these little subtle changes there, and it adds that much to the creepiness. Like there's something right beneath the layer that we can't see. Which is, again, it reinforces the narrative of this Joker.
Yeah, and then obviously the art really goes wild at the end when he finds this guy on the island and the guy's terrified because, oh, it's you're the one who put me here. He transforms. Joker transforms into whatever he really is, right? Because because again, that's the other way that Alfred describes it. The one whose laughter we only hear when it's too late, and then we see a panel of Joker laughing when he's transformed, and Batman says, "So who is he?" And he says, "He's the Joker." And we get this big demonic, like it's like almost demonic green horns that he has. He's got rows of sharp teeth, a big red tongue coming out, like proper like evil looking shit here. It's selling the idea that the Joker in this universe isn't a person. It's it's like a
thing.
Yeah, well, it's like, I don't want to quite say Cthulhu, but something like that elemental, something that's like evil personified, that's been existing at least since 1880 or whatever the year was when he first came on the record.
Yeah, so there's a saying in storytelling where angles are dangerous, right? Like in physical or in not virtual storytelling. What I'm looking for visual storytelling. There's the word. And that like sharp angles, because they're all dangerous at all points. This Joker is all pointy angles, right? From his elbows to his knees, the claws, the horns, teeth, face, everything. He's a big, gigantic triangle given form. And yeah, he is scary. Like this is like human, like deep in your lizard brain, scary Joker. Like not the Joker that we've seen where he's super, super creepy and he can kill you at any minute. This is like primordial kind of fear. He's
like a force. He's like a demonic force that's been here for a long time. Now, I am curious if like maybe he did come into existence when he starts the story about the first version, of Grimm, but it's just been one guy all the whole time, obviously.
Right.
I wonder if there's a reason why he appeared then. What is it, because media became something more evolved? Is it tied to that, or did something happen in the world that led to his creation, or something? If he is from hell or he is from some other plane of existence, did something happen that shoved him into the world? Like, I wonder if we're going to get into that at some point. But the end of the issue is Batman making an excuse to go see Wayland to leave, and Alfred's narration's like, "Oh, great old man, you've scared him off with all this like spooky talk." But the end of the issue reveals Grimm Joker coming back in human form to what usually is the Wayne Manor, I presume, because it's there's the mansion out there on the outskirts of the city, and he goes into the building and he changes the number on the clock and it opens an entrance to, and he calls it the cave. So Joker is the one with the cave under the manor in the Absolute Universe, which is not the most shocking reveal ever, but it's a nice little touch at the end after everything else we've already seen.
Yeah, and the fact that he's walking down what looks like into actual hell. There's this red glow, and it even looks like a half of a smile. This red with...
I don't think that's meant to be like a literal thing. It's just like like a visual flourish of like that's what it looks like.
Yes. Yeah. It looks like hell, like he's descending down into there. So, and in fact, like as much as I want to believe he's this primordial force or whatever, I do think it boils down to belief. And I think that this version of the Joker, is he's done the experiments, right, that has turned him into this over time. You know what I mean? And he's just gonna let these stories propagate because it makes him, all that more powerful. Kind of like a Ra's al Ghul kind of vibe, So
I mean, maybe I could see it all being accurate though. I could see them going down this path, and if they do, it kind of feels like, what's the best way to phrase it? It feels like this is this universe's version of Barbatos, right? So instead of Barbatos, you have the Joker Barbatos, which is this. Yeah. And instead of it being like, tied to a person, it literally just is him. Like he is the Joker Barbatos of the Absolute Universe.
Well, it's almost like, what if Bruce had embraced Barbatos, right? This is what he would have become. This kind of entity, and this guy, Jack Grimm, actually did embrace it. And now it's using him for its
so assuming he started off as a human, like that first Jack Grimm was born as a child and did until something changed, he embraced something, connected to something or whatever it was. Who knows?
Because that's what I feel it's closer to, is that he started off as a person and has become this over time, and that kind of does go in with, like you were saying, there's a bit of a Lovecraftian vibe to it, whereas he's almost given up his humanity to be something more, right? It would have driven anybody else insane, but not Jack Grimm, because he's just, he is that personified already, and It was emerging. So, but yeah, I didn't even think about the Barbados thing until you just said it, and it makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
You know,
like that may be where he started off with the idea for this. Is like, okay, Barbados exists. So what's the opposite of Barbados? Well, Joker's version of that, and then that's what the Joker is on this other universe is just. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree, but
no, but it checks out with anything. And I go, this is the type of storytelling I think Scott Snyder excels at. Like, as good as he is and all the other things.
Yeah. It's a horror story.
Yeah, well, there's that, and just laying all this groundwork, and you can tell he really likes. I'm not necessarily doing the research, but the way that he's tying it to real world stuff, like you brought up the media, right? Like it started through there, and then he gets involved in radio, and then movies, and then the internet, and all this other stuff.
Yeah, video games, and then like online video games, and like that. That's kind of like we see the progression of this idea of how he has a hand in all these things, presumably to. One, because it ties into the idea of a clown being a performer, so he's always got his hand in the performances, if you will, of the entertainment. But also the manipulation of those things can help shape the world, right? This idea of the propaganda and messages and whatnot.
And again, you look in the real world how things have changed over that time, and it's very similar.
Yeah.
Right? And people are being able to be swayed by that. So, well, I mean, this is the type of stuff that I love that he does.
I mean, this story literally starts with Alfred saying, hey, one of the first movies ever made was in 1880 something, right? And I was like, oh, so that makes it feel like it is tied to the birth of like visual entertainment, right? Of that kind of, not live plays, but something that's captured on a camera of some kind and presented on a screen in some form. For
the masses to be shared.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
So I do wonder thematically if it does tie into that, if not literally at some point.
Well, and that's where you get the more people that believe in the Joker, the more powerful he is, right? So again, it's one of those things. The more people that see him and see this type of thing.
Oh, we don't know that yet, but yeah, I mean, if that theory tracks, then sure.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, it's really good. Like this is, I woke up Wednesday, downloaded this, so I could start reading before work, and I haven't done that in a very long time. Usually I'll just get the books when I get to them. But yeah, Absolute Batman was as soon as I wake up, let's get this thing going.
Yeah, I think
it did not disappoint.
Yeah, I think it was the first thing I read as well. Yeah, I don't think there was anything else I read before this. I think this was the first one I went to. So, but all right, yeah. No, obviously we mentioned a hero there, but yeah, Jock's art is very good. Like he's always been very good.
Yeah, from the way that he just draws like. Even Joker standing there on the island and it's bright lights, but he still seems like he's in the shadows. Like it's this weird thing that Jock does. Like he plays with light so well. And yeah, just across the board, we get all that. And then when we finally get to see Batman show up there at the end, and he's mostly in silhouette.
Because he's just the voice really for most of the issue, as he's hearing about the story. I also like that Alfred kind of brings up in his narration. One, he mentions that Bruce has been seeing this warrior in Gateway City, referencing Wonder Woman. But I do like this idea of like between Bane's form and what's happened to Wayland and everything that's been going on recently, and then stuff like Wonder Woman fighting these kaiju looking things in other cities. This idea of like Bruce having to deal with and take any stride the fact that the entire world's changing so dramatically and that there's all these monsters popping up, like it's one thing to like hear Joker's like a monster in this universe and say maybe that's a little uninspired, but I do feel like there is a coherence here to this idea of like this being like a universe-wide problem right now, is that all these entities of some kind. You look at Absolute Martian Manhunter and the White Martian in that, or so on and so forth. Like I feel like there's kind of this almost theme across all of them that doesn't make it feel like an eye-rolling thing. It makes it feel like a thought-out idea of like we're really dealing with something where these all link in together. So that's cool.
Well, yeah, because even look at Flash, and even and to a lesser extent Absolute Superman, where that's one been much more normal type of stuff, right? But yeah, it is the idea of monsters and what that form is. And it makes me wonder about Darkseid. Like, what is he doing? Why are these monster forms the preferred forms? Is that what he really thinks of himself? Just that crackly face. And now it's extending to others, But yeah, man, Snyder and Jock, it's a perfect team.
All right, what are you giving Absolute Batman?
I'm gonna give this a 9.5.
I'm gonna go straight 9. But yes, excellent book.